So are we ready?
This is Jay.
This is A,
And this is Moxicated.
where we drop the booze and walk through the reality of life alcohol-free.
So grab your favorite mock, get ready to laugh, and let's get Moxicated. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
I felt like I pointed my toes when I...
Saying hello is our strong suit.
Do you remember that in 7th grade, I created a lie? I know, which is crazy because I'm not like, I was spicy back then. I did random things. I created a lie that every time I screamed, my toes opened up like that.
I think I do actually remember that. Because then we would always try to move our pinky toe without any of the other toes. It's even hard for me to do that with my hand.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry.
And I'm like, if you could see my toe on the YouTube. And literally, I think there was at least 2 people that truly believed me. One girl believed me until high school, and I literally had to be like, oh my God, you still believe that? No, that doesn't happen. But that's what that reminded me of, that nice little welcome. Maybe it's because they're like webbed feet.
My nephews have webbed feet.
You have
Isn't that wild?
fins on your feet.
Fish tattooed, but my nephews legit have webbed toes. Logan and Adam. They're weird. I remember when I first saw them, I was like, that ain't right.
I'll just tell you, I know somebody in my life that has a webbing toe, and I can concur. I'm not gonna say who it is.
Now I love it, and I think it's very cute. But
It's really like interesting, and I'm like, you probably should have been a swimmer. Like, this is some extra, because I was a swimmer. I grew up at the pool.
Yeah,
I was on the swim team.
2 toes just giving you.
Yeah, it like gives you probably extra push.
Like a fin.
I mean, I wasn't good. I think I preferred to spend my pool time like, okay, I pretend that there was an underwater village. I know a lot of people probably did this. And like, I would just go around, and my sister was a really good swimmer, so she was probably practicing her butterfly, and I was like trying to sit on the bottom of the pool and have a fake conversation.
Yeah, they're underwater tea parties is what we call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quinn tries to do that with Atlas, but he can't really hold his breath that long, so she gets mad because she's like, I wasn't done talking.
Did she create that all on her own?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah, she's crazy. Right now her goal is she likes to dive for things in the 10-foot part, and it drives me crazy because I'm like, your ears are gonna explode. It's too deep. I'm like, is she ever coming up? And she does every time, but it's still, as a mom, it freaks me out.
But is your level of comfortability a little bit better now that she's such a good swimmer?
Oh, yeah. Yes. But there are times when she does, because right now her goal, is to jump off of the swim things and go and sit her booty on the bottom. And
I
so
remember doing that.
Sometimes it takes her longer to get up, and I'm usually on the other side of the pool because Atlas, he's swimming, but he doesn't like to go where he can't touch. He's not confident enough yet. But he will swim on that area, and I just kind of stay with him. And so I'll watch her jump in, and then I'm like, okay, where's her head? Where's her head?
My heart is beating.
Yeah, and then it'll pop up, and I'm like, whew, almost every time. And then before we leave, every time she's like, okay, bring your phone. I have to do 3 jumps, and I'll try to do 2 different tricks. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, swimming is our summer. Yesterday I tried to go to the pool, and I forgot that it's closed on Mondays. And she was like, we can go to all of these other pools, was naming them off. And I was like, no, swimming is done. We will do something else.
My kids love to swim, but I've literally put them in swim lessons, not just one lesson, a group of lessons, 3 to 4 different times. And just hasn't really stuck.
So this is going to be a really unpopular opinion, but
I don't. Let them drown?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I think swim lessons are kind of a joke. We did swim lessons too. My kids never learned from that. They literally learned from
trying. Trial and error.
Yeah. And it's scary, but usually I'm definitely in the water with them, or Chris and I both, or whatever, and just kind of cheer them on and tell them. And honestly, once they figure out swimming underwater is so much easier than swimming on top of water, it's like it all clicks. Mm-hmm. And so if you encourage them just to swim underwater, or even dive at the 3 feet, because that's how Atlas started. He was getting not actually diving in, getting like things off the the bottom
yes,
of the
yes.
3 foot because it wasn't too far or whatever, and he can stand if he wants. That helped him figure out that swimming underwater is so much easier than on top.
It's just one of my biggest worries, but it's so funny too because I like cannot imagine how it would be if I was drinking.
Oh my gosh, no. I already have so much pool anxiety that I cannot imagine like no. Like I don't even want to see myself
I'm
there.
like starting to like
Yeah, I can't swallow. My throat's closing.
actually.
My throat's
I
closing.
feel like we're having reactions, physical reactions are happening. Because that's a lot of summer, and I think, you know, going into summer, there's obviously a bajillion things that you worry about, whether you're drinking or not drinking. But once you become sober, you get to worry about new things.
Yeah.
Not as dangerous. They might feel like fight or flight, but they
Yes.
truly are not life and death as much as drinking in summer can be.
Yeah. No, I get horrified of drinking at the pool with kids. And at the place we go, people do drink beers in the pool, like on the side. And I then like hyper fixate on their children, and I'm like, where are they? Like these parents aren't watching them. I like, and then I feel like I take on the role of lifeguard, and then I'm like, I don't even know how to
You're like
save them.
having like a Girl Scout meeting in the middle of the pool. You're like, okay, all children,
Yeah.
come to the pool.
No, really. And
I can
it's funny,
picture
one
it.
of the other moms,
Picturing it.
she's always like, oh my gosh, Allie's here, don't worry, we have a duty.
No.
Because I'm always the one that's like, hey, that kid's being mean to that kid. Hey, that kid's doing that. Like, I'm like the vigilante, they always joke, of the kids.
There's enough to freaking worry about, truly, like without even having to worry about anything that comes with drinking. But drinking in summer is like the most popular activity, so it's just such a messed up game to have to play because there's so many stats out there that talk about the dangers of drinking in summer specifically because there's so many different factors in the summer than the rest of the year, and people do it more.
Yes. I read today that during the summer, when drinking, there's elevated rates of blackouts and alcohol poisoning. And about 6 people per day die in the USA from alcohol poisoning, partly driven by summer binge behavior. And that binge behavior is due to free time, social events, being out of school, just different drinking or driving too intoxicated. And then 2, overconsumption happens a lot quicker in summer because you think you're cooling down with a beer when really you're sweating out all of your water, and so you're becoming more dehydrated.
Well, and I feel like a lot of day drinking happens in summer, so you're drinking a lot more during the day. And as you're talking about all those facts, I had like this remembrance of this one summer. You and I used to go to a pool at one of our friends' house from time to time, and I'm like, what was your job? Or what was their job? Because I was working at Morocco. And so I had to be like there at least 9 to 2. And I remember how mad I was because that was my first real job, that I couldn't do debauchery during the summer. Like it was my first realization that like, cause like sometimes maybe you guys would have the day off and I wouldn't, and y'all would be able to sit at the pool.
I think it's when I lived in the villas. Is that what you're thinking of?
No. It was like 2000. You were with Chris. Maybe that's why. It was like 2014.
I think
summer.
probably I didn't have a job.
Well, and so I'm sitting there at my job, and like I know people were drinking, I know people were hanging out, and I remember being like so mad because your whole life you grow up having summers off, and I think that maybe that's where we learn.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, and we're learning. We're taught like you go hard in the summer because the rest of the time you're at school.
Yeah.
And then you step into the real world, and that's your first time. You're like, wait, I can't party during the summer. And it almost makes me feel like this is all Jess's head, not facts. Makes me wonder if like in those summer hours too that you do have off, since now you're in like the real world, you go 10 times harder.
Yeah.
You're like, this is my one day off. Everyone else, or I've been wanting to get by the pool and drink.
That's what I was going to say, is the other person that would be with us, she worked weekends. And so it would be weekdays that she'd be like, come. And we would go at like 9 a.m. because we're both morning people, and we would be in her pool all day just drinking.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I was so sad to not be there. And it's just so funny how much drinking during summer is like put into our heads, how much everything revolves around it. We know, because we've discussed so many times on here, that like once you become an adult, the main thing that there is social activity is drinking.
Yeah.
And then in summer, there's a lot of social activities that people do, but drinking is involved in almost every single one of them.
So escalated. Well, and if you think about barbecues, a cooler, there's almost always the alcohol cooler and then the kid cooler. There's never a sober cooler.
Or a water. It's just alcohol and water.
Yeah.
And you tell the kids to, you know.
My gosh.
But that's the thing, too, that you're talking about with the dehydration is, like, it's such another, like, mind game that happens during summer for you to be like, no, this drink is cool. It's icy. And then you are dehydrating yourself. I don't know how many medical professionals we've had on our podcast that have talked about specifically how much you dehydrate your body, but then you're out in the sun.
Well, and too, this is my own personal thought, but I feel like the commercials growing up for beer, it was like an ice cold crack it open, and it was like ice. And like refreshing.
You're all of a sudden in the igloo.
Yeah, like after you work really hard. Seriously. And there were so many beer commercials, I feel like, when we were growing, or we watched commercials because we didn't have Netflix and all of the things.
Forward.
Yeah, so we would see all of this. And so I think
that's
just the like glamorizing that part of like cooling down, like you just did yard work. Now you deserve an ice cold beer. And honestly, I do know a lot of sober people that only drink NA beers in the summer. They don't need them all year round. But they're like, no, in summer I feel like I kind of crave one. That's when I used to drink them a little bit more. Yeah. And like even when we floated the river, my mom, she was like, I'm going to bring some NA beers, you know, because every time I've floated the river before, I would have like a Corona or like an ice cold beer. And so it was just really interesting to me how an ice cold beer is tied into like the cool down. And I think that it's for me personally, from watching
marketing.
Marketing our whole life.
Well, and it's funny because I got sober October 1st. And I always remember summer really looming. Like, it scared me. And I think honestly the first two sobers were very much like a baby giraffe walking for the first time, like, I don't know what I'm doing, because it's so true. Sitting on a patio and craving an ice cold beverage was so like ingrained in us that it was hard to shake off. And I did start to realize that like my beers, I couldn't drink them fast enough. So they did always end up being warm, and I would have to chug a warm beer in 95 degree heat, which when I'm drinking iced teas, that doesn't happen. and if one of my drinks that I'm drinking now gets warm, I don't feel like I have to chug it. I'll just leave it on the table. I don't like, because there's that thing about like, you don't leave your alcohol, you finish it. But I think it's just so scary because we have done summer so one way as a society for so long overall. Well,
and I think too, this is another more us or New Mexico based. I feel like September used to be cooler weather. And then in the last 10, 15 years, it's not cold in September. It is still hot as heck. And we're trying to like make fall happen, but it's not happening yet. Yeah. And so it's like, oh my gosh, like sober October couldn't come soon enough almost because summer always ended when school started, and then once we were out of school, it was like, oh, it's still warm. Is it still summer? Or do we still drink all day? You know, like it was.
It makes you, it like messes with your mind and almost drags that drinking season on way longer.
Yes.
Into tailgate season.
Yeah. Oh my God. I hate tailgate season. I still am very strongly against tailgate season because I've only ever tailgated and never made it to the game.
So bad. And that's another thing too about out in the heat. And I am someone that has been prone to heat stroke. I mean, I literally as a child would like throw up at the zoo because I was so hot. You know,
Sorry
like
that I laughed.
it's true.
Just because I could see that happening to you.
Totally. Like not even making it to the bathroom. Sorry, little Jess. But like heat has always affected me so strongly. I need water. I need to sit down. I get bright red. And like alcohol only makes that so much worse. And so it's just so crazy for that to be so normal when it affects you so much more in the summer than it does.
Well, and alcohol is a diuretic too, which causes your body to lose fluids as is. And when you're hot and sweating, that is more fluids. Like, seriously, like I can't believe I survived summers because I'm not a great water drinker as it is. And so then on top of that, and that's why we would always say not to use Gatorade as a chaser because it would trick us into thinking we were hydrated, and then we would have like alcohol poisoning.
Then we would start doing water as a chaser for Fireball. And say the same thing. That we're hydrating ourselves, but we're not.
Be like, it doesn't burn as bad if we use water.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, that's when we should have known. If you're using water as chasers.
So, as we're like moving in, honestly, I feel like I wish when I was worried about this the first 2 years that I had somewhere or something or even just one group of people that were like, I know summer sober can be hard, but like you can do it and it's actually better and easier.
Yeah.
And when you get hot, you only feel like you're going to pass out because it's hot and not because you drank 17 beers.
And not because you're depleted and your body is literally a raisin.
Yes. But it can be hard because, okay, first of all, there's the holidays that are like completely centered around drinking. And it's funny because, okay, we won't even get into it in this time right now, but the 3 holidays during the summer are like to celebrate our country, but they're like the 3 most like
heavily
drinking,
consumed.
And it's always by a pool. It seems.
Pool and the grill.
And honestly, yes, the pool and the grill, that's such a good, like Labor Day, Memorial Day are pools, grills, and alcohol. And then 4th of July is fireworks and alcohol.
So I hate fireworks. I have so much anxiety about kids and fire, and then adding drinking on top. I can't swallow right now.
So I think that's like probably the biggest thing that people think of first, because I don't know, I guess I feel like our minds tend to go to like events, big events that happen every year, and we think to ourselves, how are we going to do that again? Like, this is literally, I have a stockpile of years and it all looked like this where I was drinking, and now I'm going to experience the same thing, maybe in the same place with the same people sober. It's going to be a challenge.
It's going to feel triggering too.
It's going to be triggering for sure. And it's like, how do I approach these situations now that I'm sober? And we do have our Mox toolbox, and we will always go back to our Mox toolbox, but to tailor it to each situation, there are certain things that you can do. I mean, we know Memorial Day has passed, but looking forward to Labor Day, like, if you are sober and you find yourself at these events, Allie and I already touched on it at the beginning. The most important thing anybody can do is, if there is children swimming, volunteer yourself to be the person that watches the kids.
Yes.
Because you're not drinking.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that a lot of parents will appreciate that, and it'll give you something to do, something to focus on. And you know what? I am somebody that likes kids and animals more than adults.
Yeah. Then you don't have to small talk. Yes. You'll be having fun at the pool with the kids.
The things they talk about are so funny and interesting, and you'll like out of pocket, and you'll literally have so much more fun.
Yes.
Another thing, man, the grill.
Yes.
Learn how to grill.
Yes. The grill is a huge one. But yeah, no, I
think too, if it's 4th of July, be the firework starter.
Yeah, make sure there's a bucket to
be like the duty. Like,
well,
Allie
no, really though, because like I get so stressed out because then people are grabbing the hot fireworks after, and I'm like, that one has a little bit more left
There's
in it.
still a little.
And I don't know where this firework trauma for me comes from. Like
Fires.
Well, yeah, and I do have a family member in prison for arson.
Missing fingers.
But truly, yeah, like I'm more afraid of like the explosion. And I guess actually now I'm remembering, I one time super wasted at my house. I had the idea to have a friend go put off the illegal fireworks in the middle of lead and coal, and then he burned his hand, jumped in a cactus. It was like awful, and yeah, it's just never safe.
No, I had someone shoot one off of their like they put it in the back of their shirt and then shot it off their. And he got completely burned.
I've been chased with Roman candles. I think that's probably where my trauma comes from.
I was burned, and I think I was. Mom will correct me on this, but I think I was 2, and someone burned me with a sparkler. I don't know who it was, but it's just like, look at all of the things. I am such a worrywart, and so I go to safety first, but there's a lot of other cool things you can do at these events. You know, our Mox Toolbox is bring your own car.
Yes.
Bring your own beverage, your tote bag, and fill it with all your comfort items. It doesn't even have to be beverages. Like, I don't know, put whatever makes you happy in there.
Yeah, seriously.
A book, a crystal, I mean...
I was just in my head trying to think of what I used to do when I would be at really heavily drinking places. And honestly, the first thing that came to my mind is I would make like mocktails for me and the kids in the way of Sprite and throwing a bomb pop in the cup and like make the dessert for the kids. Or I would go really big into the food, like the red, white, and blue treats and foods. And yeah, it is kind of all kid centered, but at the same time, like, the adults came and got my drinks too, and I was like, "Oh, these aren't for you." I'm just kidding.
You do like that. Well, and that's an important part too if you're a host, because I think as a host, that can be nerve-wracking in and of itself. Of like, this is my first time not drinking, and you get to make the rules. I think that that's something that we've come across a lot in conversations lately, is people really taking their power back about having events at their house and saying like no alcohol.
Yeah.
And I think that can be so hard, because it feels like you're making someone feel uncomfortable because they usually drink alcohol and now they're not, and B, like you are going against what's normal.
Yeah. And also the people-pleasing side. You're going to leave yourself to have to explain more and, all of that. Like, where's the beer? Oh, there's no beer here. Oh, why is there no beer here?
And so many people would rather just provide something than have to do that. And if that's the point that you are at in, your sobriety, then yes. But know the triggers that are going to come up within having alcohol in your own home. And also, like, you don't have to. This is your permission from both of us that you do not have to host any events with alcohol if you don't want to. And if people really are going to make you feel bad, make you feel judged, make you feel like you're not providing a comfortable space for them, then maybe that's your one like little nudge to reevaluate that relationship. And or because we just had a wonderful conversation with somebody, explore that relationship, have with a conversation, maybe not in that moment, but that gives you an invitation to like, hey, meet up afterwards and have a conversation of like, I'm sorry if that made you feel judged, this is where I'm at. But especially if there's children around, like, there doesn't need to be alcohol unless you choose it to be. And you don't need to feel forced to host in any sort of way. And I think Al would not only have a bajillion recipes for you, but her advice is so good of like, pour yourself into that sort of thing. And you know how many kids are going to like have the best time of their life and go back to their parents and be like, I always want to go to that person's house. That party was so fun.
The bomb pop in the Sprite got me so much cred with all of the kids, because Quinn was pretty small. So it was like all the cousins, and they still talk about that. And now it's like things they have to do on like the adults that are like, thanks, Allie, we always have to have Sprite and bomb pops at our 4th of July parties. And I'm like, good, at least everyone's enjoying themselves. I was going to say too, back to the Mox Toolbox, your boundaries. Those are so important, and sometimes we forget them in these situations because we feel maybe bamboozled or you feel anxious and really
or going with the flow,
yeah.
just like not wanting to.
Yeah. But no, those people are allowed to have boundaries and you're allowed to have them too. So I think that that's an important thing too.
In your home and or outside your home.
Yes.
Wherever you are. Because I mean, it does extend beyond these parties. Like, that's how you're going to interact at a party. You can, you have so many options. Leave when you want. Leave when you're triggered.
Oh my gosh. That's my number one thing. I used to never leave. I would,
and
even though I'm like crippled with everything, like,
you're just dying.
I'm so done. And I would think that I had to stay there. And it's like, no, nobody would even notice that I was there. Well, and nobody would notice if I was gone.
They're at the point where don't maybe remember as much. And that's another mind game, I feel like, when you're at a party as a sober person, is like, there's so many times where I've been at a party and I'm like, oh wow, people do actually stay more sober than I thought they did. But more often than not, it's like, you have to remember, none of these people are going to remember any of this.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two. And in your head, you're thinking like, oh, this person's going to be sad if I leave their event early, because you're thinking in a clear state of mind and, you're a good friend or a good person and you're considering all of these things. That person is going to be like, thank you so much for coming to my party. It was great to see you, because they had a million other things going on with the alcohol, without the alcohol. So giving yourself space and permission to say, me leaving a party is not letting that person down.
Yeah. No, and Chris's favorite saying right now is, nobody thinks about themselves more than you. You're the topic for yourself, but nobody's thinking about you the way that you think you are.
And I think
that makes sense.
And I think that like gossip circles and things like that make people think, like, feed into that a little bit more, because everyone has heard people say things behind people's backs. And it's like, but if you think about that, even in those gossip circles, or if they've been drinking gossip circles, like, it kind of dies there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, stupid chatter. And you in your head are like, oh my God, they think this and they're going to think this forever. And this is going to be how I'm going to be perceived. And they're never going to invite me again. And like, even if they did have a thought, it was a fleeting thought, and another thought came and that one fleeted too, and to Chris's point, like, it's not locked in on talking about you. They literally have a bajillion things going on when you're at parties. But one of the biggest things I think for me was honestly just sitting on a patio and drinking.
Yeah.
And that is such a summer staple that I don't think you really realize how much of a staple it is until you walk away. Yeah. Because it's even like on vacations, going and sitting in the rocking chairs with a glass of wine, or going and visiting a new brewery with a glass of beer, like all of those, it feels like the two go hand in hand. And I think that was one of the places, to like quote Talladega Nights, like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like when I was eating on patios, like, I'm like, I don't have a drink, and even when I would have other drinks for a while, it still felt a little off until I got more confident and realized and reminded myself things like that, like, it's really hot outside.
Yeah.
And if I was drinking right now, I would probably have heat stroke.
Yeah. And two, I think that also maybe if you know that that's going to be a trigger for you, bring a mocktail. Order a mocktail. Replace it with something else. If you feel like you really are only thinking about that cold drink or sitting on the patio, replace it. Like, just like your thoughts. When you're thinking badly, replace it with a good thought. It's like, no, if I used to sit there with an ice cold beer, I'm going to sit there. Honestly, an ice cold soda in the summer, I love. Like,
I'm like, say a glass of water is not a bad thing.
And I still am not a huge water drinker.
I guess you know.
But like a Dr. Pepper, a Sprite, oh my gosh. I like
tea?
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like, you really have two options, right? Because some of us that are more stubborn like to be like, no, I'm gonna go out and do the same things and go to the same places and prove to myself. And then there's other people that truly are like, I don't know if I can do it. And also, like, you can avoid patios for a whole 2 summers or a summer and a half. Go sit in the comfiest booth underneath the air conditioning, Go sit where they have TV on. go sit, I don't know, somewhere where you are getting some other need met, but you are completely avoiding the patio too, because that's also okay for you to avoid things, places, smells, drinks, whatever that bring you back somewhere that you don't like. Sometimes we mask it.
Yeah.
I'm fine. This is okay. And inside you're kind of like, is it okay? I don't know if it's okay. If that's where you're at, you don't have to be there.
Yes. And that's another part of the Mox toolbox. Leave. Leave. When you're like, nobody says you have to stay there.
Or, hey, can we sit inside today? It's really hot or whatever, like you aren't chained to this life that made us feel like we were chained to something for so long. And it's so hard to get out of it.
Today, this is just kind of changing the subject, but today, a woman in my life, she was like, I love watching your Instagram. And I was like, oh, thanks. And she was like, it just makes me want to be sober. And I was like, why? And she was like, because you do so much. And I could never do that while drinking. She's like, you never have hangovers. You're never worried about. You're allowed to drive all hours of the day. Literally, she was like going off. And I was just laughing at her like, you don't have to drink. Like, that's what I told her. And she just started laughing. And she was like, I know. But it's just, she's like, she says, when I look at your Instagram, I'm like, oh my gosh, how does she do it all? Like, how is she so fun? How is she so present? And then I'm like, it's because she's sober. Like, nobody drinking could do all of this. And I was just like, you said it, not me.
Well, and I think too, the thing about it all is like all those things that you said really affect you a lot in summer. I'm trying to think of like how much I drove.
Well,
more drunk in the summer, how much more I, was hungover. And like, if you are in the summer, it's hot, or you are working in the summer, or your kids are home from school, all of that stuff plays into it. But when you're sober, you don't have to experience it.
Yeah.
And, we don't really have a beach here in New Mexico. So, but we do have listeners in places that have beaches.
Yes.
And I think that beaches and barbecues can feel kind of similar no matter where you're at. And I don't know, it's so funny. Like, as I try and start to talk about this, I'm like laughing in my head because never have I ever done a beach day with alcohol. Or if I have, it was like a vacation. So it was like, I was drinking the whole trip. It wasn't like we did a beach day, but I know people that live in places that have a beach, drive to the beach for the day and sit down and, you can drink and stuff. And I cannot imagine the dangers of a beach drinking, but
I almost drowned in the ocean.
Just sober?
No, drunk. Like literally at night after the clubs would close, we would go to the beach. And there's a video of a wave crushing me, my orange wig falling off. And literally we laugh about it all the time, not realizing the severity of that. Yeah. Like I literally could have drowned and died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I think I was just yelling.
No, it's okay. Get it out, girl.
And right before that exact situation happened, I buried a bottle of vodka because I didn't want people to drink it. So I buried my own bottle of vodka in the sand, probably not well.
Yeah.
And then went and leaped into the water in my orange wig, fell horribly. Like, it's all on video. And I still, and we laugh about it. And I never once thought I could have died.
Yeah.
Because that was not real. Well, you don't die at the beach.
Well, and especially if we've never been to one.
Yeah, these New Mexico desert rats, you don't know what a tide is or anything.
Yeah, but I think it's, it's like going back to the pool and drowning and thinking about that. And there's so many more factors at the beach that are so much more dangerous, and you maybe aren't able to get into the shade as often for the whole dehydration part of it. And I thankfully in the past few years, every time I've went to visit a beach, I've been sober because I don't drink, but it's only been a handful of times. And I think for those of us that are attempting a sober summer and have beach trips planned, along with the Mox toolbox, I think a really cool part about being at the beach is just like, as I'm about to say this, I'm like, this is so like woo-woo
I
hippie
can't
of
wait to
me.
hear.
I'm just like,
I feel like I know what it is.
just like like listening and taking in the nature
No,
and like
it is.
sitting and understanding it. Like there's so many sensations to take in when you are sitting at the beach. And again, this is coming from a desert girl that doesn't get to see it that often, but like to feel the sand beneath your toes, to see the seashells, to hear the waves, to feel the ocean water, depending on where you are on the earth. Like so many oceans are warm, so many oceans are absolutely freezing. To be able to take that in, to feel sure of yourself at the ocean, but honestly, like there's such a spiritual experience that can happen there. And I'm like thinking, if you find yourself at the beach, and you're used to drinking or whatever, like maybe leaning into the spiritual side of being at the beach can open up any kinds of doors.
Well, so I wanted you to finish saying that before I said this, but if you look on Instagram, the hashtag beach therapy is like millions, because seriously, that is a true thing. The sensations, the senses, the smells, the textures, all of it. Literally, it's like,
Sign me
yeah,
up.
no, like it is therapeutic for so many people. And truly, just watching the waves, it's almost can put you, well, it does put you into a meditative state if you're focusing on that, or, and it's, and I have been to the beach a lot with my children. And I cannot imagine drinking with my children at the beach, because my daughter tries to run all the way in. And it's like, I already have anxiety at pools, but at a beach, like with children, there's so many dangerous things that could happen.
It goes back to that thing you were saying earlier about like switching, your cold drink for another cold drink, is like you're switching this experience that maybe used to be a little bit dangerous, a lot of bit dangerous, something that you used to do that could have led to negative things or whatever, but you did it a lot, and then you're flipping it and you're making it a spiritual healing experience for you, and you're recreating new memories in a situation where maybe the memories before were scary or bad, or you're nervous going to the beach without drinking. Like there is a whole new experience waiting for you there. Okay, sorry, went off on a little. Maybe because I wish I could go on a beach day any day. I think another big, huge part of summer and we have an episode on. We have something about summer before, but on vacations too. But that is a whole, thing that everyone does in summer, is that's the time to go on vacations. And I think along with getting very nervous about hosting parties without alcohol, going on vacations and not enjoying alcohol is something that is so worrisome to a newly sober person, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Because there's the cool drinks, and like I think about going to Hawaii, and there's always the staples, the pina coladas, the mai tais. The greatest thing about all of this is, guys, and really listen to me when I tell you this, they make those same drinks without alcohol.
I was just gonna say a pina colada, a virgin pina colada, is the most delicious.
I'm salivating. I'm like, where can I go get one in New Mexico right now? Because they're so much better, and you can taste the ingredients more and not the alcohol.
Yeah.
But it is nerve-wracking, and I think when you're going on a vacation sober, like what advice would you give somebody?
What advice would I give somebody on it? Well, honestly, for me, if you're going to a tropical place, the switch, a virgin pina colada.
Yes.
That's a total easy one, and honestly, those don't look any different, and no one will tell.
Share them with your children.
Yes,
and so you don't have to buy two.
Yes, one of the places we vacation, there's like a happy hour for a couple hours a day, so it's buy one get two, and so we would always make sure to go for those hours and get like a million pina coladas.
You're like, keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
Virgins.
But too, like going on vacation, remember that you're human. And there might be times that you're triggered, but you know what to do in those times. Like, that you can go back to your room, to a cool space, calm down, regulate yourself. You can also, on the beach, build a sandcastle.
Oh my God.
It is so fun. There's a video from one of our vacations that another parent took, and they were like, I've never seen Allie get so into something. And I literally did. I made like a moat. The water from the waves would come under the bridge and go all the way around.
They have like competitions.
Yeah, no.
Like, you could become a master.
Yeah, and I would have never had the tolerance to do that drinking. I would be like, okay, we dug a hole, move on, you know?
I think another thing too that I've heard is like, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you, and I can speak to this, people, how many times I've heard people that are going to Disney, like any part of Disney. Okay, in Disney World and Epcot has the drink around the world where you have a drink in every country and see if you can make it. And that is literally a thing. They now have shirts, like you have tattoos. They have fake tattoos that you can put on and you mark as you go through. And so I've seen people talk about like really missing out, or I've heard about people that are staying on club levels of hotels, and you know, I've never been to a club level of a hotel, but apparently that you get free drinks or something.
Yeah.
And so people are like, I don't want to waste that experience.
Yeah.
Or, you know, things that you have had planned where you maybe feel like, oh my gosh, well, I have to take advantage of this. And it's like, I cannot tell you, really cannot tell you how much better vacations are when you're not hungover and drinking and focused on drinking the whole time.
100%.
Like, and we don't think it. It's so crazy. And like, I know I'm coming up on 6 years. I've been on this journey for so long, and I want to like, blah, 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 when I get this question or ask for advice, but it's so hard to see that when you haven't done it yet. It's so hard to see that vacationing is better sober when you haven't done it. You really have to experience it and trust yourself. Trust yourself. When you wake up the next morning, and I'm serious, Disney, are you joking me? You wake up the next morning, you have to wake up early. You have to last all day. You have to make sure everyone is fed properly and sunscreened properly, you know? And that is so much easier to do clear-headed. Finding cool spots. You get creative on vacations. You make sandcastles. You maybe go like explore a museum that you wouldn't have done before, and it's so much more rewarding. And then at the end, you remember it all.
Yes.
Because there's that idea of like, say I'm staying at a club level and I don't want to miss out on the experience of unlimited drinks. So play that tape forward. I'll do it for me. I go to this club level, and I'm on vacation, and the drinks are free. And so I drink so much that every night I pass out, I throw up, I get in a fight with my husband. I don't remember the trip. Was it worth it?
You just paid all that money for the trip. And
was
you
it
were
worth it?
Miserable the whole time.
Right. It wasn't worth it to begin with. But like, you can go up there and you can, I'm sure there's other luxuries that come with that, you know what I mean? And lean into the other stuff you're getting and understand that like, maybe your body or mind is telling you you're missing out on something, but freaking A, this is going to sound cheesy as heck, but you're gaining so much more.
Yeah.
Truly, like memories, openness, experience, seeing the world in a different way, clarity.
Sunrises in other places are like one of my most favorite things. Enjoying my coffee with a different like sunrise is one of the huge things that I do now as sober, which I would have never, you know, ever been there in that situation. I can say for club level, you usually have better seating than normal people, so that then you might not get the unlimited drinks, but you're going to be in a shaded day bed, so bring a book.
Yeah. And people that run these high profile things start getting some NA champagne to pass around.
Well, no, and they want to get tipped, so they're going to bring you Dr. Pepper all day if that's what you want. They're going to want you to be happy. So remember, you're in charge of your vacation. If you want a certain thing, tell them. Like, these people, this is their job, to make you happy in some of the situations.
And honestly, like, same like with any place you go, take your power back. I'm planning this, I can do this. Another really cool thing to do, and this is going to make type A people probably like squeeze their butt cheeks a little bit, but like, go with the flow. Like, go explore. Who knows what you're going to find. And it, you know, back in the day, for me, that was just like bar hopping, you know, like a bar crawl. But like, think of all the cool things you can see in a city. I'm picturing Chicago in my head right now. Think of all the beautiful and cool things you can just like stumble upon in a city when you're literally just walking around. That's so
what we
cool.
did in Portland. One of the days we like didn't really have plans, so we just went and ate food at these restaurants, and then from there walked around, like found shops, found like and it was
so rewarding.
Yeah. Yes.
And then honestly, I just think like the free time you have, I saw something and I wish I could credit it. I know it was on Instagram, so if this is you, I'm crediting you. I did not make this up, but it was something about like how sweet the mornings are in the summer. And that how much you miss out on them, because there is just something about like the 7 a.m., the 6 a.m. mornings of summer that are so wonderful. Yeah. Again, we live in the desert, but it gets very cold in the winter. So this is the time where my garden looks the most beautiful. I get to go out in the morning when it's completely quiet, water my plants, have my coffee, enjoy like the bit of my life that I've created for myself. And I feel like, life is a little bit slower in the mornings in summer because you're not getting at least 1 billion kids off to school. So you get to take advantage of this more. And something about a sober summer morning.
They're the best, if you ask me, in my opinion.
Yes. Do you have any other sober summer
I had some ideas of sober fun.
Yes.
I don't have to say them all.
I want you to.
Oh, yeah.
On us.
I'll just go down the list then. It's kind of more, well, I guess this could be anywhere. But one, go outside. That's one of the easiest things. But earlier before it gets too hot.
It's such a perspective changer. Like if I am triggered or like in my head or overthinking, literally taking a walk outside will get me thinking about the birds chirping instead of everything else. Yeah,
there's so many beautiful things outside, especially there's flowers, different trees are blooming. Like it's just, then, I guess this one kind of follows it, but early walks or an early hike. Like an early hike, it sounds not the best even to me, but once I'm like in it, like, wow, this is actually really beautiful. This is something I really normally wouldn't do.
Right.
But the weather, it's always nicer and early in the morning and it's kind of cool. And then you see the sun, just all of that is magical. The river fun, which we're actually doing that very soon. Gonna go play at the river. Yeah.
Oh, in the Grande.
Yeah.
In the Grande.
In the Rio Grande.
The Rio Grande.
Yes. And if you don't want to get in, just even throwing rocks. That's one of Atlas's favorite things to do is to go to the river and throw rocks in it.
We just did that in Colorado, and it was seriously like all 5 of us were literally like, dink. Yeah. It really, there is something like soothing about it.
It's weird. I don't know what it is, but it's like,
oh my God. Yeah, totally.
And then of course swimming, that's an activity to do sober.
Please. It's great.
Swimming. And then aquarium, zoo, or botanical gardens are all really fun.
Hot tickets.
Yeah, I thought about our friend that hates the aquarium the other day because I was there and I was like, why could she hate this? And then I was sitting there and I was like, oh, because if this exploded, all these fish. And then I started to like have a panic attack.
I've never thought about that before. I know. literally feel weird in all my body.
And then I was like, okay, maybe I don't love aquariums as much anymore.
Oh my God, because we would have to swim out of it first.
Well, and you would be with the sharks.
No, I know, but like at some point they'd be flopping on the ground, but like the rush of water would envelop you first, so you would have to beat a shark out of this water in a building. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Create something or like do crafts since you do have more free time. Like my kids, we do a lot more painting because we just have more time to kill while they're not at school.
You know what the best thing for kids to paint is? Rocks.
Yes.
And then they make your garden look pretty.
They're free.
And it's free.
Yes.
And they love it.
Yes.
And they think it's really cool that their rocks are in your garden painted.
Yes.
Yes.
Albuquerque, or I guess not Albuquerque, Rio Rancho just got a new mini golf. Have you heard about it?
Oh my God, prehistoric.
Yeah, and there's dinosaurs.
And it's indoor.
Yeah, indoor. So,
Rick's. This is a shout out to Rick's Prehistoric Golf on Southern. Go to it, people of New Mexico.
Yeah, I want to go. I haven't gone yet, and I want to go. I keep seeing it.
Let's keep the local businesses alive.
Sunsets slash sunrises, the best
Beautiful.
thing to pay attention to in summer. A tie-dye party. For some reason, tie-dye is totally summer. I wear it all year round.
I think it's because you went to a lot of church camps and probably did that
Maybe
at church.
that's
No,
why.
I'm just kidding.
Seriously, though. I'm like, I don't know why I associate tie-dye with summer.
It sounds like a camp, like a group activity.
Yeah, but like a tie-dye party is fun.
I
Me
love a
and
tie-dye
one of
party.
my friends used to do it every summer, and we haven't done it in a while, so maybe we'll redo that.
Yeah, because you guys used to do like hats.
Yeah, you
shirts,
just bring
shorts,
all
socks,
your white clothes that
everything.
you have, everything that has a stain on
Yeah.
it, everything that you want to get rid of, and you're like, nope, I'm going to tie-dye this instead and bring it
Perfect.
back to life. A vision board. I feel like vision board get-togethers don't happen that often, and I always want to do them, and I always feel like it's a very very fun thing to do, and two, just to like, why is it drawing a blank? Like think of goals or like manifest. There you go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. And then
really, so good. It's
another
such a good time.
Yeah, another thing that I've never actually done, but I've like slowly kind of done it without knowing, is creating a summer soundtrack or a playlist of all summer songs that make you feel like summer. Which I feel like it's fun. And then farmers markets. I have yet to go. I used to go every Saturday, but this summer has been wild. And so I think this weekend coming up will be the first time.
As far as I know, at least in our state, they don't have alcohol at farmers markets, correct?
No, not in New Mexico. You can't.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yes.
And there is a lot of things, sometimes I come home and I'm like, what did I buy?
Yeah. Oh,
glad to support,
so much.
But what did I buy?
Yeah, and there's even a market on Saturday and Sunday every weekend in Albuquerque, and I'm sure in most most
Can you
places.
imagine how cool they are in other places? Sorry,
Very
not
cool.
that Albuquerque's not cool, but just
well,
like
no.
my
So
mom.
I've been to a couple in other states, and honestly, ours is very unique and
some
cool.
cool stuff.
Yes.
Way to go,
And then I have garden and picnics. And then that's my list of sober
That's
fun.
a lot of stuff. And bowling.
Yeah,
I think.
bowling.
Bowling is always
see, and
so
I forget
good.
because I do that all the time.
And you're like, it's my daily routine. I do. It's not just a summer thing.
That's year round.
Well, and like all of these activities, like yes, there are certain of these activities that have included alcohol in the past, but all of them exist and have existed for years and do exist currently with plenty of people doing them without drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it when you're someone that came from that world.
And I'm sorry, but your vision boards drunk are probably not as good as sober.
They're not
a lot more glue.
I walk away really crusted on your hands. Sober summer is the best. I think it's the way to go, not just because I'm a paid actor for sobriety.
I was like, where is this going?
But truly because I've lived it and experienced it, and it once you break the stigma, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. So enjoy your sober summer. We love you, babes.
Talk soon.